I've got news for you. The old type good working German Shepherd is still around. Believe me, I have one. But wait, what is a good dog? Seriously, define a good German Shepherd. Today I'd like to answer those of you who believe and say that the Old Type GSD is still around. Before I do that, I'd like to thank my Brazilian friend Francisco Melo, I hope I spelled that right, who pointed me towards Dom Ode. I checked them out and I like what I see, not necessarily the dogs, but the mentality, the vision, and the way they approach working dogs. And yes, there are some very nice dogs there as well. Go check them out.
Nel é dos padreadores nossos. Existem muitos outros. Lorde, Otso, Andro. Existem vários padreadores lá. O próprio Torque está chegando, Cairo. Basta agora esses profissionais excelentes decidirem que perfil de cão que eles vão querer, tá? É um pouquinho difícil filmar com o Nel, porque o Nel é um cachorro que não aceita aproximação de ninguém, apesar de ser um cão IGP3, ele não aceita aproximação, é um cão muito agressivo, tá? É um cão difícil porque é um cão, ele gosta da maldade, mas quem vai decidir qual a genética vai chegar lá são os dois profissionais. Veja.
Obrigado, Francisco. First of all, thank you to everyone who's been commenting on my videos. I genuinely appreciate every opinion, whether we agree or not. I promise you, I read your comments carefully. Unfortunately, work takes more and more of my time these days, so I simply can't reply to everyone. So again, what is a good dog? What is a good German Shepherd? And what exactly is this old type? What defines it? And why do so many people immediately react whenever someone mentions the straight back? Correct me if I'm wrong, but today we're living in the age of extremes. We have the sport working lines, we have the show lines, and somewhere on the sidelines we have what's left of the old DDR population. To me, they're all extremes. Extreme prey drive in sport, extreme, and yes, I'll say it, ridiculous angulation in the show dogs. And the DDR population, well, it's getting dangerously close to disappearing altogether. So if you ask me what the old type was, my answer is simple: balance. That's it, balance. The old type German Shepherd was a proper police dog, a family companion, a family guardian, a dog you could take sightseeing, a dog with a healthy mix of prey and defense. Not crazy prey drive, not exaggerated angulation, just balance. And I'll add one more important detail: a straight back. Yes, I know that's going to trigger some people, but my first dogs came from that old straight back generation, and in my experience, they suffered from far fewer structural problems. So when I say old type, I'm talking about a straight back, balanced German Shepherd. Now, let's make things a little more complicated. What makes a good dog, and by whose standards? Many of you commented based on your own experiences and your own environment, and with no disrespect intended, some of you have never actually seen an old type German Shepherd in person, let's be honest. Not because you did something wrong, simply because maybe you came into the breed later, or because those dogs weren't available where you lived, or because maybe financially they were out of reach. I know some people are already getting ready to type a comment disagreeing with me. That's okay. But I also know there are people watching this who own dogs from the late 80s and throughout the 90s, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, Mr. Glenn Campbell, thank you for commenting on my videos and for openly sharing your views. Whether we agree or disagree, I genuinely appreciate respectful discussion. You wrote, the GSDs can and are still being bred in the USA. They're evident when you search for them. Sir, I completely respect your passion for the breed, and again, thank you for taking the time to participate here. My hope is always that these discussions encourage people to think more deeply about the breed. But I believe we're talking about two different things. You're referring to individual dogs, and yes, absolutely, you can still find an exceptional German Shepherd here and there. I agree. My point is about the breed as a population. And even if you find that outstanding individual, what do you breed it to? That's the problem. The compatible breeding material simply isn't there anymore. Those genetics eventually get thrown back into one of the extremes I mentioned earlier. Believe me, people have tried, many have tried, and I haven't seen them recreate the old type with any consistency. I could mention names, but I don't want to offend breeders or trainers. It goes without saying. I'll simply say this. I owned dogs from breeders whose bloodlines many of today's experts build their programs on before some of those experts even had their own dogs. And today's check lines, most are heavily mixed already. There really isn't a pure Czech population anymore. And the best Czech dogs themselves were built on the old DDR dogs, but that's another discussion. The point here is, yes, you can still find an excellent dog, but reproducing that type consistently, I don't believe that's possible anymore, unless of course, we're talking about one of today's extremes. For example, I mentioned sports, and when I mention sport dogs, I'll mention Orkan, again, a fantastic representative of the sport working line. And according to friends of Mr. Avi, the dog performs well outside the sport field too. So, Mr. Campbell, I probably won't convince you, and that's perfectly fine. You're free to believe today's German Shepherd is still the old type. I respectfully disagree. From a breeding perspective and based on years of studying genetics and following the breed, I don't believe the old type can still exist as a stable breeding population. This isn't just my opinion, it is what I believe the history and present state of the breed demonstrate. To me, it's almost mathematical. But the good news is today's German Shepherd is still a very good dog for most people. The less driven, the softer sport dogs often make excellent family companions. There you go. The lower drive DDR dog suits other families. There are exceptions, of course. There always are. And so the wheel keeps turning, which brings me back to my original question. What is a good dog? Personally, I think there are two ways to answer that. First, how good is a German Shepherd compared to the breed standard? The Max von Stepanitz standard, that is. And second, how good is that dog for my own life? Answering the first question is relatively straightforward. The dog should possess the structure, temperament, and working ability described in the breed standard. Simple. The second question, that conversation could probably go on forever because every one of us sees dogs through our own needs. If you're a sport person, you look at Orkan and say the breed has never been better. And for your world, you may be absolutely right. If you're into police canine work, those high drive dogs are fantastic. They live for that game. Put a few Orkans on the streets and the Malinois might start losing some points. No disrespect to the Mallee crowd. I'm a German Shepherd guy. But if you're simply a family looking for a German Shepherd, you probably don't want that level of drive. You want something calmer, more stable, but still protective, still capable, and that's where things become more complicated. I've covered that topic in plenty of other videos on my channel, so I won't go too deep on this one. So, what defines a good dog? In the end, I don't think there's one universal answer. People judge dogs according to their own needs. It's their reality. They judge them according to their own lifestyle, their own experience. But here's the real question. Can today's German Shepherd still consistently produce dogs for all those different roles? Some of you will say yes. I will respectfully and humbly say no. Not because I want to be right, but because I spent years searching for the old type, and everywhere I looked, I found extremes. I'll never claim to know everything. I'm simply sharing what I've experienced during my own journey with German Shepherds, a journey that started back in the early 80s. And before someone tells me theirs started even earlier, please remember I grew up behind the Iron Curtain. Communism was terrible. It truly was. But one thing it still had was good old type German Shepherds. I hope I haven't offended anyone. If I did, that certainly wasn't my intention. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.